Good morning, it's Catherine. I'm here with the results of the Drop Sugar Lift Weight Challenge. Good news, 6 pounds off, well, 5.5. And the best part is got my waistline down. So I got it down to 26.5 inches. Why is that important? So there's a couple of things that are really important for your metabolic health. You want to get that waistline to less than 50% of your height. Now I am 61 inches tall, so about 30.5 inches would be as big as I want that waist to get for metabolic health. But there's another number. And the other number is within 2 inches of what it was when you first matured. So even before, if you've had kids, before you had a baby. So when you became an adult, if you know what that waist measurement was, you want to keep it within 2 inches of what it was at maturity. And I do know I was measured back in those years, and okay, this was like 17, but I was measured at 24 inches. So 26.5 is a little bit outside of that parameter. And this is so important right now because everyone in the news is talking about COVID-19, coronavirus, and metabolic risk. That metabolic diseases, diabetes type 2, high blood pressure, asthma, a number of these issues can be connected to insulin resistance. And the problem is that one of the number one indicators of insulin resistance is your waist circumference. What gets measured gets managed. And a lot of times we're just measuring our weight, we're getting on the scale, but we're not measuring what's going on with the shape of the body and also where we're depositing our body fat. I'm kind of lucky. I tend to carry it around my legs and my hips and my thighs. You might not think you're lucky if you do that too, but the good fortune in that is that if you do tend to carry your body fat below the waist, it means that you don't have as much of that biologically active adipose tissue around your waist. And this is why the waist measurement is so important. So I got down to 26.5. I hope that if you're doing the Drop Sugar Lift Weight Challenge with my students at Gordon Studio and the people that I've worked with through Sugar Freedom and Cardio Freedom, we often see a loss of 3 or 4 inches within just 4 to 6 weeks, which is amazing. But it's because the bloat is going away and the inflammation is going away. That being said, 26.5 is still over that 2-inch parameter, which I'll say a little bit more about. When we're looking at things like breast cancer and diabetes type 2, the risk gets higher the more that waistline expands. So that's why it's that 2-inch. We want to keep it within that 2-inch number because this is how we tend to see healthy longevity. And that's why. So I want to get it below 26. So after the 4th of July, today is the 2nd, I'm going to be coming back and I am going to be going pretty strict carnivore for 30 days, doing another challenge. So it's go carnivore, really drop glucose and lift weight at that point, where the only carbs that I will be taking in, we are growing squash and we have carrots and tomatoes and a few blackberries coming out of our garden and some lettuce. So I'm going to be, maybe if I put the lettuce in the shade. So I'm literally going to be keeping my carbohydrates only to what I can grow in my garden. And I also want to talk about this idea of a farmer's market diet where including meat that would come from local producers. Imagine that your food plan was completely made out of things that you could get at your local farmer's market. So that would be your vegetables and your seasonal fruits in pretty small amounts. I'm pretty much not eating fruit at all except on special occasions, and then it would be berries and very low sugar fruits. All right, so 5.5 pounds off, inches off of the waistline, and then when we come back after the 4th of July, doing a carnivore and training challenge. What I want to leave you with is I did make one mistake, and I was adding jump rope and some intense stuff on my feet. I'll go ahead and show you. So these are my shoes. I use my Jazz shoes, and I did get some aching in the top of my right foot. Kind of overdid it. I was working on getting to 600 skips per session on my jump rope. So the point I'm telling you this is don't overdo. I got a little bit greedy. I call it getting greedy. It's like, oh, I want more jumps. I want more skips. And some of it maybe was, to increase the metabolism and burn more calories, which isn't always an error. And then I'm going to do a few exercises for you, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to leave you with the most important thing that we need to do to lose a lot of weight and keep it off. So here's a simple body weight wake-up call to do in the morning. It's going to be total body extensions, push-ups on the railing. You can use your kitchen counter, and then a supported reverse lunge. Let's give it a shot. Here we go, total body extensions. And 1 for 10. Into push-ups on the railing. And then stepping back into a deep reverse lunge for 5 with each leg. There's 2, 3, you don't have to touch down, 4. Excellent for balance and flexibility, but without having to do any jumping. And I recommend 3 rounds of those, so you go back to the TBEs for 10, push-ups for 10, and then those reverse lunges supported for 5 on each side. Most important thing that you need to do to lose a lot of weight and keep it off is to manage your appetite. And the biggest mistake that I see, and the biggest mistake that I was making, is following traditional diet and exercise plans that increase appetite. When we cut our fat and our protein too low, and we do excessive amounts of endurance cardio, there are 2 things that are going to happen. We're going to increase our appetite through hunger from denying the body protein and fat, and then we're going to increase our appetite by working up an appetite through excessive amounts of endurance-based cardio. So what are you going to do instead? Well, when it comes to transforming the body, we learn from the people who have to do it professionally, and these are bodybuilders. And one of the things that they have always understood is that we have to manage protein first. And generally, for transformation, we're talking about a gram of protein per your ideal body weight, especially if you're a small person like me. I know that seems like a lot of protein, about 100 grams of protein a day, maybe about 70 grams of fat. I know it seems like a lot, especially if you think in terms of, chicken breasts and tuna and all that. But the good news about that is that it's going to give you satiety. It's going to make you full, especially if you have an appropriate amount of fat with it. Not too much, just the appropriate amount. And then you manage that, and then with that, you add in carbohydrates up to your level of carbohydrate tolerance. Now, I am a glucomaniac. I have a very, very, very low tolerance for anything that breaks down into glucose. And did you know that all carbohydrates break down into glucose? So I have to be very careful. Never, ever more than 20 grams of carbohydrate a day for me. And then on the other side of the equation, endurance cardio, treadmill, swimming, biking, hour-long aerobics classes, aerobics, use your imagination, Zumba. Those make me ravenously hungry. So what do I do instead? I do short burst interval training. It doesn't mean that I don't do the kind of exercise that's going to be good for my heart and is going to increase my cardiovascular ability. But what I don't do is the long endurance workouts that make me hungry. I hope this is helpful. If you want to get even more results, come back. Join me starting on the 5th of July when we're going to do a carnivore lift weight challenge. Pretty much totally complete carnivore except for the foods that are coming out of my garden, which are going to be the squash, the tomatoes, and a little bit of carrots. All right, everyone, be well, get some training in, get out in the sunshine, and have a marvelous day. See you soon.